I should point out fairly early on in the piece that we are in fact doing this from an airport, so if you hear any loud noises that sound remarkably like planes, then they are in actual fact
planes.
Aircraft.
Yeah, we are at the airport, and I'm on my way sort of further north, so...
and I'm on my way south.
Yeah, so...
That's why we're here.
Well, ships in the night.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Richard.
John, congratulations on the album. You must be very proud of it.
Thank you very much, Richard. I am actually proud of it. I say after every album, this is the best album I've ever made, and I must say that each time I completely believe it, and I believe it just as strongly this time. And what I try to do is make each album better than the last. I try to do that. Whether I succeed or not commercially is I guess
it's irrelevant, really.
Irrelevant, but yeah, that word. But I really do, because it's. I have to walk away from it. I have to get to the situation where if somebody comes up to me and says, I think that album's a piece of junk, I've got to be able to turn around and say, that's okay, because I like it. I ultimately have got to live with it. I've got to have people come up to me and say they like it or dislike it or whatever, and so I've got to be happy with it, and I've got to live with it. After all, it's there for a long time.
How did you approach Romeo's Heart? What makes you say, John, it's time to make a new album?
Well, I'd taken about 2 years off. In fact, just over 2 years. Because I did an enormous amount of work on the back of... we did Superstar, which was,
kept you busy for a while?
Yeah, but it wasn't the length of time, it was just the amount of people that we worked to.
Yeah.
Then I made... then again, and I did an enormous amount of touring on the strength of that. And we ended up doing a lot of shows. And I thought, I better get out of the way for a little while. So I decided that I would literally get out of the way for a little while. I didn't do much at all. I did a few things, a few corporate things and a few little bits and pieces just to keep me hand in, as it were.
Yeah, it was as if you disappeared to the public.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the way I wanted it to be, because I really just needed to refresh myself. I wanted to get out of people's faces for a while, and because you can really, they call it burnout, I guess, but in this country, because the media is the way it is, you can reach the whole country literally in a couple of days, and it's much less burnout than flare out.
Yeah.
So I just needed to get out of their way, and rightly or wrongly, that's what I did. And then I sat down with Wheatley one day, and we were just talking about stuff, and I said, I wouldn't mind going in the studio and making an album. Well, he was up off the table, had the studio booked.
That's how Glenn.
15 minutes later, that's how Glenn.
You start on Monday.
Oh mate, it was literally like that,
And you got the old firm back in business, Ross Fraser again, of course.
Absolutely. I like working with Ross. Ross is a unique human being. He doesn't give you terribly much.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I know him very well. So Ross is a sort of pretty dour, sour sort of a bloke on the outside.
And cheerio to you, Ross.
Yeah,
we
right.
Hope you're
Cheerio to
listening
you. Goodbye to you, pal. No, he just is. He's just that kind of guy. He's not gregarious. He's not. He's the antithesis of what I am. I tend to be, pretty happy and pretty up all the time. Well, Ross isn't. And he's a unique human being. I enjoy working with him very much, and we infuriate each other at times because of the way he is and because of the way I am, and we tend to get on each other's goat a little bit. But that's kind of good for our creativity. I have enormous respect for his talent. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be working with him. And I feel the same respect for Doug Brady's talent. Doug, our engineer.
He's an important part of the team, isn't he?
Absolutely. And I guess people say to me all the time, why don't you go for the big American producer or the big English producer, whatever it might be. And my feeling behind that is that I guess I'd have to get into a situation where I really know Ross and I really know Doug. So there's no ego problems from anybody under these circumstances. I guess if I went in with someone I didn't know, I'd have to learn their modus operandi and their little idiosyncrasies. They'd have to learn mine. And maybe that would be a good thing. I don't know. I can't really tell because I haven't tried it. But I'm quite comfortable where I am, and I believe that the people I'm working with will not... I can do a take or I can do something in the recording studio and get an absolutely honest, candid reply to a question or candid reaction to something what I'm doing, whether they like it, dislike it, or want to take it further. And I respect that, and I need that. I don't know whether my ego would suffer that from someone I didn't know as well. And maybe that's the case. I honestly don't know, Richard.
You certainly don't need to defend working with Ross Fraser or Doug Brady. The proof of the pudding is in the listening, and Romeo's Heart is a fantastic album. John, I want to take you through it track by track. Have a Little Faith, of course, a song that's been all over radio since the day it was released. A great song. Tell me about it.
Mate, I tell you, I love this song, and I loved it the first time I heard it, you know, and those things rarely happen. I get the same feeling with You're the Voice. And I guess the similarity in this is a fairly anthemic song as well. But and it also came, once again, late in the piece. And I could hear myself singing it. And that's one of the criteria for me. When I hear a song that I've been sent, if I can't hear myself singing it, then I'm loath to give it a shot. Although, you know, that's not always the case. But with this song, it really felt right, you know. Wish I'd have written it. It's a great song. Don't know who wrote it, a couple of Americans.
When you say late in the piece, you mean that the recording process had already begun, or the song selection had already...
The song selection had already begun in earnest. I mean, we had, at one stage there, we were going to have an album with only 9 songs on it.
Really?
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to put what I considered passengers on, and I had 9... The 9 songs that I had on my list were the strongest of what I'd been sent. At that stage, we hadn't written anything. And I think because of that, we decided to write... At one stage, we were going to call the album Second Skin. Fortunately, we came to our senses. But we wrote a song called Second Skin, Chong Lim and Ross and I. And we decided, the way we wrote this was really interesting. We decided, okay, we're going to write a song called Second Skin, and we're going to write it now, and we're going to finish it today.
Wow.
And see what happens, see if it's any good. Anyway, we were all quite pleased with what happened.
Yeah.
And so we became within a hair's breadth of taking it off the album, not putting it there, because there's nothing to do with the rest of the stuff on the. But we thought, oh no, come on, let's put it on and let's leave it and see what happens.
Apparently, your son really likes this.
My son really loves this track, but then again, he likes Pantera, so you know.
There you go. What would he know? Hey, little piece of my heart, John. Bit of R&B.
Yeah, well, I kind of like singing that sort of stuff. It's really a joy for me. I actually don't think I did the song the justice R&B wise that I would have liked to. That's not to say I'm not happy with what I've done with the song. It just turned a little bit away from where I originally wanted to put it. That's okay. I mean, I really love what we've done with it. The demo was perhaps a little bit even more R&B than the way we've done it.
A starring role for the lovely Lisa Edwards.
Lisa's great. I mean, that happened. We were in the studio mucking around with the stuff. Normally when I'm into pre-production, I'll get the band to come in and we'll just play the songs and I'll sing them and sing them and sing them and sing them. And then while the tracks are going down in earnest, if there are any long protracted periods of time where the machinery breaks down or they've got to set up a sound for something and I'm not necessarily needed until later on during that particular process, when the fine tuning starts to happen, I'll go away and I'll work on the material. I'll work on perhaps the arrangement, or I'll work on the vocal harmonies, or I might go and think of a keyboard part or whatever it might be. So I take a little tape deck in there and muck around with them. And Lisa and Lindsay came in and we were working on some stuff, just some harmonies and things, because Lindsay's got this beautiful bottom harmony voice that I needed to try on some of the stuff. So Lindsay and I were doing some stuff, and Lise dropped out, and I said to her, look, I've got this idea, I really want you to try this with me, and of course she was up for it, and we did that in 5 minutes. And I liked the feel of it so much that we kept that particular version, and I'm really happy with it. Lisa, of course, wanted to do it again, but when I told her how fabulous everybody else that it was, she sort of kind of lived with it. Because it is a bit disconcerting when you get it in one go. You think, oh, no, I can do it better, and sometimes you lose a bit of the spark.
Absolutely. A Simple Life. Great song. Second single from the album.
Yes, sir. I was surprised that everyone picked this particular song as the second single. I was expecting everyone to go for Romeo's Heart. I don't know why. That just felt like it was going to be the single for me. So many people came up and said, "That Simple Life's a terrific little song." So I'm glad that they did, and the record company leapt at the chance to have it as a single. So I really enjoy that song. That was my that was the one I sort of saved for last, as it were. You know, so, sometimes you get a song and you think, oh, I don't want to sing that yet. And that was the one I kept putting off. And it finally came together, and I was very happy with the way it came up. I particularly enjoy the vocal backings on this, the VBs, the yous and us. They're beautiful.
Why would you want to keep putting off a great song like that?
It just kind of happens, you know.
It's your artistic temperament.
Yeah, well, hey, thank you.
You're allowed to do that.
I've got some depth. Oh, no.
You're allowed to do that. It's your album.
No, but I think explaining that, I reckon the vocal sessions that I had to perform on this album were the least stressful I've ever been involved with. Because what I did was, I'd go in one day and I'd say, okay, I'm going to start the vocals. We got a couple of weeks, and we got other bits and pieces to do, but basically, a couple of weeks to get the vocals together. So I went in and I said, okay, well, I'm just going to sing them. I'm just going to go through them and sing them all. I'm going to keep singing them all over. We have 11 songs at this stage, and 10 of them are singing songs. Second Skin, of course, is just a bit of fun. But so, I get out there and I just started singing the songs, and if I came up. I'm just making a cup of tea for you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Milk and sugar.
Yeah, I just felt that, as I was singing, I'd go through one and I'd feel all right, and I'd start another one, and sometimes, and more often than not, one would just pop up, and I'd start to sing it, in Ross's and Doug's opinion, relatively well. So I'd do it a few more times, and then, I'd end up getting it, but we'd put that one to bed, and then I'd sort of, go through them. But I just kept putting off Simple Life. I don't know why. I think it intimidated me a little bit for some reason, and we finally got there, though.
I'm sure a lot of people...
I shouldn't say that, should I, really?
No, you can say that. I'm sure a lot of people would be interested to hear you talk about spending days on your vocals, because I don't think I've ever heard you sing a bum note in your life. Your pitching and your intonation is always so perfect that it's talked about by musicians and musicians.
Well, that's nice.
But you know that. Well, I mean, why does it take? Are you just looking for the perfect take?
Yeah, I'm just looking for one. Well, no, the perfect take's impossible. I'm not a perfectionist because it's unattainable, so I don't even bother trying. But I go as far as I possibly can. I like to get, when I say work days on a vocal, I mean, I'm prepared to sing it all day today. And, if I'm not happy with one of the takes, then I'll sing it all day tomorrow. And I'll get one. I don't do it bit by bit. I don't do it word by word and stuff. I can't bring myself to do that.
You can't drop in the that.
Oh, mate, I tell you can drop in T's and S's nowadays, which is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I get a kick out of a performance for a song. It's what I do, and I love to do it. So what I'll try and do is maybe with A Simple Life, I think I sang the song about 15 times, and it so happened that take 2 or 3 was the one that felt the best after we'd listened, and the thing. So I went through the thing, and take 3 was the best feeling of the thing. Now I might have had to have gone in and fixed up maybe a line on the chorus here, or a line on a verse or something, but basically they're performances. And then other times I'll go in and just there's one of the songs on the album, May You Never, and I mean that's a live take. We sort of recorded that in the control room all at once, and that's just a 1-0. And that came off just really well. It just felt right, so we left it. I'd like to do it again now, of course, but it just felt right at the time.
It's too late, John.
Yeah.
All kinds of people. Sheryl Crow wrote this one.
Sheryl S. Crow. Sheryl Crow wrote that. Yes.
Very
good song, and actually she sung the demo, and it's particularly well sung. I really like her voice, and I get demos from all over the world, and all different kinds of people, and I have a special little collection of stuff that I keep for me. I've got some great vocals for some amazing people, just in demos and stuff, which is a great collector's thing for me. But getting back to my version of the song, it really appealed to me lyrically. I mean, not the fact that Sheryl Crow wrote it, that happens to be a bonus. It's terrific, everyone's interested in it because of that. But lyrically, the song appeals to me greatly, if it wouldn't matter who had written the song, if it hadn't come up to what we were looking for, then it wouldn't have made the album. But I'm very pleased with the way this came up. I like the VBs on this one. I like the VBs on them all. I mean, I think that Lisa and Joe and Lindsay have done a remarkably good job on this album. Unfortunately, Netta isn't singing on the album because she was working around about the times that we were doing the Vokes. But the singing on this album from those other guys is just fabulous.
How many songs did you get sent for this album?
Oh, thousands, Rich.
Thousands?
Thousands and thousands. I get hundreds and hundreds of tapes throughout the years. And I must admit, I don't listen to anything until about a month before I'm going to go into the studio, because otherwise, if I pick a song today that I'm going to record next year, by the time next year gets here, the Russians are coming.
I was going to say lunch has arrived.
I'll go on.
Yeah.
By the time I get to the stage where I want to record it, a year's time, it's over. I've lost the vibe on it. So I try to keep it fresh, and it really is that whole thing, that process of elimination. If they smack me in the face, I'll listen to them again. I think that's why my wife gets listened to me so often. Smack me in the face, and I'll listen to it. It's fabulous.
Go and get the rubber.
Yeah.
Romeo's Heart, title track from the album. Great song.
Terrific.
Randy Van Warmer wrote this?
Yeah, Randy Van Warmer. It's an unfortunate name, isn't it? But a lovely song. A lovely song. He had a hit in the 60s or the 70s, and I cannot think of the name of the song. It was a humongous hit all over the world.
If you know what the name of that song is, give John a call. His home number
right.
is...
No, give Wheatley a ring, actually, if you do know. Good song, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And that's the only song on the album where I've done all the VBs on it, because it just felt like I needed to for that one, I think Lindsay was a little disappointed that he didn't get to sing on the album in this one, because it is such a terrific song, and the parts are really lovely. And I actually had Lindsay helping me with as I was doing it, helping me make sure that I was nailing the little parts that I was working on, and he was sitting there next to Ross, and giving me a kick along while it was all going down. It was good fun.
A little bit of country in there?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's come from my love of riding Western horses. I've spent a lot of time in a Western saddle of late, and I enjoy it very much. And all my mates, all my cowboy mates are saying, "Yeah, go on, Johnny, when are you going to make a country record? Go and do some real music." So, I bent to the pressure a little bit, and with any luck, one of them will buy me a beer one day.
What makes this song the title track?
Well, as I say, we're going to call the album Second Skin. What do you reckon? No, I don't normally, and I say this each time, and I actually was guilty of it with the last album, with Then Again. No, I wasn't, because that wasn't named after one of the songs. Forgive me. But we did. I don't like naming an album after one of the songs on the album, because I believe it puts too much weight on that song, But this one felt right. For some reason, it just felt right. Wheatley and I were on a plane coming home from Sydney. I can't remember what we were doing up in Sydney. And we were talking about something, and somebody said something to me. I can't remember. I can't. But anyway, somebody called me. Something. You're right, might have been that. Somebody said something about Romeo, and Wheatley just looked at me and went, yeah. And the song immediately came to mind, Romeo's Heart, and we thought, this could be good. And then we were talking about what we could do with the artwork and all that sort of stuff for the cover, and we started putting it all together, and it just felt right. Yeah,
well, it lends itself to great imagery and all that stuff, as depicted on the album cover.
Yeah. That photograph of me on the cover was actually taken at the studio, sitting in the loading bay on a kitchen chair. And, he came in with his Minolta and took a couple of pictures. Hope they send me one. Took a couple of pictures and put me in the computer and poked me into this station, which is also made up of several stations. He went out and photographed all these stations, and then just pulled in parts and pieces and bits and pieces. Then he went and found a train and put it in, and then put the girlie in. And, it's just like a real montage. He's a very clever man. He's also very good at tic-tac-toe.
Modern technology is everywhere in every industry these days. Do you find it pushing you in the studio, and maybe drawing away from the old natural performance bit?
Well, interestingly, I think this probably, of all of the albums I've made since Whispering Jack, is the least techno of all of them.
Yeah.
We've used a couple of loops here and there, but nothing serious. I mean, 99% of this thing is played oysters, as I call it, natural, with the band. So it's very, very untechnical album. It's beautifully recorded. Doug Brady is just knows his way around the studio, and depending on when this gets put out, but unfortunately, I think it's going to be the last album I make at Gotham, as it is as we speak, because the studio is mud brick. It's on 4.5 acres, not terribly far from where I live, and it's beautifully wooded, and it's very secluded and very quiet. It's absolutely fantastic, and I'm really going to miss being there. But we're going to move the place. We're going somewhere else. We're putting the studio back together. But that was a big thing for me too. Doing it last year. It was sad in its way.
One of the good things that came out of recording in that area was a song by a local songwriter, Don't Let It End.
Yeah, Aaron Hendra. I see that we were talking about the Sheryl Crow thing before. I mean, I do get songs from everywhere, people next door and people overseas, and he's a local, lives around where the studio is, and just on the off chance that I'd listen to it, he came into the studio one day and handed a tape to Catherine, who runs the studio out there, on the phone, and he just handed her this tape and said, look, it's, any chance of Farnham having a listen to this? And, well, we put it in the box with everything else, and it came out one day, and Ross and I sat there and listened to it, and it had a mobile number on the back. I was blown away by the song. I think it's a terrific little song, and I really enjoyed singing it. And I rang his mobile phone. He said, "Oh, hang on, I've got to pull over a minute." But now, what? And I told him that I was going to demo the album, or demo the song for the album. He was very pleased, which was nice. And then, obviously we told him it had made the album, and he was very happy. I don't even know whether he's heard the track yet. I'm sure Ross has played it to him.
He must be ecstatic. That's fantastic. And he's
well, he might not like it. I don't know yet. I haven't talked to him since I recorded it, so we'll see.
I'm sure he'll like it very much.
He's a very good singer himself.
And he's written other stuff that's been recorded before?
No, he's never had anything recorded before, but I have no doubt in my mind that he will in the future. He writes very good songs. I mean, he's got a terrific way with the way he writes, and I'd like to hear him sing more. He's a very accomplished, very talented singer. He's got a great little voice.
Is that part of the buzz for you, giving new up-and-coming people a bit of a break? I mean, there have been quite a few past... Jack Jones is a great example. Not that he, dare I say, needed a lot of help. I mean, you put him in your band and gave him a support.
Yeah, but I must say, I have the greatest respect for Jack's talents, both as a guitarist and a singer. And I'm the same with Aaron. But I didn't give them a break because they were young and needed one. I gave them a break because I really wanted to hear what they were doing. It's great to be able to give people a kick along and stuff, but if there's nothing there, then you can't kick anything. So they had to have something first, and that's why. I mean, that's why you'd like to help them. I'd like to be able to sign every act and plan it up and put them through a record company and help them all make records, but that's impossible, and it's not going to appeal to me. I've got to like it too. That's what we try to do with Gotham, with the record company, is we don't want to change people. We've signed up, Merrill Bainbridge and the Lovers, and, we liked what they did. We don't go up to them and say, "Oh, we really think you're terrific, but why don't you change?" No, don't want to do that to people. We've just helped them do what they do under the best circumstances and get it out there so that people can hear it. Richard Pleasance is probably one of the most talented human beings I know.
Love him.
And he's really clever.
Great performer, great writer, great voice.
And he has these wonderful, he's got an amazing knack. I don't think I've met very many people who have the same kind of thing. He can actually size up a situation and immediately encapsulate it into a song. And usually make sense of what's going on. It's a real talent. It's a very clever man.
You've got a track of his coming up, but at the moment we're on to the next track on the album, which is Hearts on Fire, originally called something else, I believe.
Yeah, it was originally called House on Fire. Don't ask me, got no idea. But because the lyric is "True love's when your heart's on fire" on the album. Yeah. But the original lyric was "True love's when your house
is on fire."
No, true love is a house on fire. Why? I had a fractional problem with that. So I wrote to I faxed the writers through my publishers and asked them nicely if they would mind if we, if I changed that lyric and a couple of other.
The title of their song.
Yes, absolutely. Well, which is, very presumptuous of me. Fortunately, they agreed to me changing the lyrics and the title. And it was kind of neat because they wrote, you can change the lyric, but you can't have any of the publishing of the song. That wasn't what I was after. I just wanted to make the song work for me. I didn't want to, any part of the song financially. I just wanted to make it work for me, and it does feel better that way.
But you did write one word, doesn't that entitle you to...
Well, I should get 50%. I've known people who've done that.
Hard Promise to Keep, John.
Hard Promises, yeah. One of my favourite songs of all time, I think.
Wow, that's a big call.
Well, as a lyric, the lyric is anyway, it's a little country and western song. I like country music. I have a bit of trouble with, oh, my dog's dead kind of country. Yeah. But, I can cope with it. But this particular lyric, I find so romantic and so... we're at an airport, so there's a plane coming in, probably Willie Nelson after me guts. But I find this song so emotive, and the lyric so... I just love it. I love the lyric. I think it's great. And I really enjoyed singing this song. Very, very much indeed. And Lindsay's done some beautiful work. Lindsay sings that one with me. It's nice.
The great thing about country music, or some of the great things about country music, is there is still melody and lyrics and harmonies, and it's still all about songs and craftsmanship.
Yeah, that's right. And 99% of songs are I love you, you love me, I love you, you don't love me, you don't love me and I don't love you type songs. I mean, that's 90% of the material anyway. Yeah. This is just beautifully said. I mean, every song says it in a different way. I just like the way this one says it. I mean, it's, I thought you'd want them back someday. It's kind of neat. Yeah,
what's that story about playing a country record backwards? If you play it backwards, you get the house back, the dog comes back, and your wife comes back.
Yeah, it could work, I guess.
We were talking about Richard Pleasance a little earlier, John. He's written the song Over My Head.
Yeah, this song, I guess, is the left field, apart from Second Skin. This came right out of left field, and Ross and I sat down and we listened, because Richard sent me some material for the album, and as I was saying, he has this wonderful quirk, and he didn't write this specifically for me, which I was pleased about, because it was kind of neat to be able to go and find something out the window and give it a shot. And I demoed it, and I wasn't real happy with the way it came up. But I wanted to persevere with it, and consequently we did, and where it ended up I'm really pleased with, and people have asked me what it's about and what does it all mean, and I don't even know that. But then again, I have my personal thoughts on it, but I'll never tell anyone what I think it is, because kind of the joy for everyone is to find out what they think it is. So, I'll leave it to you.
Another great song, May You Never, John Martin. Great performer.
Yeah, I wish I could take the credit for picking this song. Unfortunately, I can't. Ross Fraser actually came to me and said, "Do you remember John Martin?" And I said, "Yeah, didn't he have a menswear shop or something?" I had no idea John Martin who he was, because I was a terribly unhip pop star, around these days. And of course, Ross Fraser was one of those people who used to stay up all night, so he looked tortured, and he still looks tortured. He should be tortured. Anyway, there you go. But this is a terrific song, and he played it to me, and I fell in love with it. And originally, what I wanted to do was just record it just with Brett playing the acoustic guitar, not unlike John Martin's version, and perhaps a little cleaner, recording-wise, not lyric-wise. But for some reason, we got into the studio and we were demoing the staff, and we were all sitting around in the control room, all plugged in, just mucking around, listening through the things, and they gave me a microphone, and I sang it, and it happened, and that's it, really. And then later on, I found that it had been recorded by Eric Clapton.
Well, you're in pretty good company, aren't you?
Yeah. So he's a guitarist. Yeah. So I was very pleased to get that song in, because it's another good lyric. I enjoy it. It's good fun.
Yeah. And Second Skin, which we covered earlier.
Well, we've covered that a lot, really, haven't we? Covered a bit of Second Skin. See, it would have been a worry to call the album Second Skin, for obvious reasons. It's not a very good title.
Well, spell it out for the folks who...
Well, what we were going to do, we had this idea where, I was going to be Johnny Casual in the photograph, you know, on the front cover.
Yeah.
But in the background was going to be the beautiful suit, which was going to be my second skin.
Oh, I see.
Right. Now you understand,
So
Richard.
it's the Gemini.
Yeah, well,
thing.
yeah, but
The
I'm a
yin and the
Cancerian.
yang.
It was actually a crab suit.
I think Romeo's Heart is just a fine title for the
Yeah,
album.
so do I, mate. So do I.
Hey, listen, it's 10 years since Whispering Jack. A lot's happened to you and the Australian music business in that time.
It has. And it was pointed out to me just recently, this 10-year thing, and because it's not something I thought about. And Glenn Wheatley, my friend and manager, is really quite taken with the fact that it's been 10 years. Because I think somebody told me the other day that we've done 1.7 million albums in Australia, which is pretty fantastic. And you know, I'm really grateful for that support. And you know, after 10 years, it honestly feels like yesterday. It really, truly does, you know, and I enjoy each one of those songs. In fact, what we tend to do on at the sound checks is we'll do a couple of the songs, particularly off Whispering Jack, which are a lot of fun, and we do You All the Voices, a swing,
Really?
a swing, with a big band type swing, and the boys.
Sounds like a dun.
You're the voice, try and understand. Really would, but we have a bit of fun with those songs. But no, I'm going to be celebrating that one big time.
John, congratulations with Romeo's Heart, and thanks for doing this for the folks who are buying the record at Brash's too.
Ah, fantastic! I've actually enjoyed doing it, and I'm glad that you know there was a want for it, because it's kind of fun to talk about the stuff after it's been done, and that way I don't have to do 150 interviews. But no, thank you, and thank you for asking such nice questions, Richard.
Oh, thank you
Because
very
I knew
much.
all the answers and everything. It was great.
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Thanks for making such great music for us.
Oh, mate, it's the greatest of pleasures.